In this unit, we perform a lot of calculations. Sometimes this is referred to as quantitative chemistry. So in this review, I want to remind you how to convert from mass to moles and moles to mass. But I want you to pay attention to how to set up the equations so that you get the correct units for your answer. That skill will be important in the next unit called mole ratios as well. So in the first problem, I have 10 grams of H2, and the question is asking how many moles of H2 I have. It's up to you what you want to do first, but I'm going to give you some advice. Whatever it's asking for here in the question, how many moles, you could put that as the units for your answer right away. So if this is asking for moles, then you know the units for your answer are going to be moles. We'll do the same thing below. The 10 grams of H2 is going to be one of our knowns. So the mass of H2 is 10 grams. And then our other known is the molar mass of H2. If I check the periodic table, I'll find that hydrogen has a mass of 1.01. And so the mass of H2 would be 2 times 1.01, which is going to equal 2.02 grams per mole. Then for my formula, I'm always going to start with the known piece of information. This is usually a measurement from the scale or a measurement that's given in the problem. So we're going to start with our 10 grams. Then we're going to multiply by a ratio. A ratio is another word for a fraction or a pair of numbers that shows the relationship between them. For our ratio, we want the units that we started with to be on the bottom and the units that we're looking for to be on the top. So in this case, I know that my ratio is going to have moles on the top and grams on the bottom. You might find an easier way to write this out. I'm just setting it up similar to how I would do it if I was writing it by hand. Then I'm going to use my molar mass to fill in that ratio. 2.02 is the number of grams in 1 mole. So the 2.02 goes on the bottom and the 1 goes on the top. When I put this in my calculator, I can just put it in the calculator in order. 10 times 1 divided by 2.02. And that will give me an answer of a little bit less than 5. Just going to double check with my calculator. .95. And my units are moles. We can also do the opposite. So in my second problem, I'm given a number of moles. So that's going to be one of my knowns. It's asking how many grams. So remember that our answer should have the units grams. Then it should be pretty easy to set up my equation. I'm going to start with the given piece of information. And then I'm going to make sure that grams are on the top since that's what I'm looking for. And that 1 mole is on the bottom. What am I missing here? I'm missing the molar mass. So if I find the molar mass of N2, it's going to be 2 times 14 because there's 2 atoms of nitrogen in N2. That's going to equal 28 grams per mole. I'm going to put the 28 on the top this time. And then when I put that one in my calculator, 2 times 28 is going to give me 56. And divided by 1 is going to stay the same number. It might seem silly to multiply or divide by 1 in these equations. However, in the next set of equations, we're not always going to have 1 on the top or the bottom. And eventually, to make this process more efficient, you're going to set up multiple ratios at once. And so there's not always going to be a 1 on the top or the bottom, but the 1 serves as like a placeholder to make sure that you've put the grams on the right part of the ratio. I hope that makes sense.